here is our Birdbath masterpiece. And when you're looking at it, I bet that you're thinking, oh no, there's an oval in this. That's one of the hardest things to draw. And I don't know how to draw birds. However, because we're keeping things so simple, you're not going to have any problem with this at all. Key is to move not just your wrist, but your whole arm like it's like a pendulum, and just very lightly with your pencil, let it define an oval. And see, it does a pretty darn good job of it. If you just keep going, you're going to see that thing take shape. I want you to just try to get here. And I go back in and I take out the lines that were part of the approach. They were us on approach, but before we found the true oval. And your inner guide is going to tell you when your oval looks good, because it knows. It is not an inner critic. It's a guide, and it knows what it's doing. Inside of our bird bath is going to be some water, and the water will follow exactly, because you know how water sits level. It will follow, it will be a parallel line to this back of the oval, because we won't see the front, but we will see the back. And there we go. Okay, most of the hard part is over, right? This bottom part's going to be real easy. So do you want to tackle the birds next? Because they're really easy too. I'm going to turn this over to show you the shape you need to make. It is basically a teardrop, but it's going to be wonky. So that's the shape you have to make, as if a teardrop drops sideways. So it goes up, out, around. All right. And just for kicks and giggles, try it the other direction too, because you usually want your birds to go two ways. All right. This one's a little skinnier. You can make it a little fatter. So now what we need is a wing, which is the same shape. It just tipped a little bit here. And you see just the tip of a wing behind that. And then you have a little eye and a little beak. And then you can put some little feet. Sometimes when they're flying, their feet are back. Sometimes when they're standing up, their feet are down. Not hard, right? So are you ready? So let's put, standing on this edge up here, a little bird, starting with a wonky teardrop. All right, and then another wonky teardrop makes a wing, and you're obviously gonna erase that little line in there. And this one is standing on this bird bath, and he has an eye and he has a little beak, and he becomes a really cute bird. Sometimes your little claws are holding on to feet. Okay, and then over here, we're going to have one who is more brave and who's standing right in the water, obviously blocking the back of the bird bath. And there's a wing there and here's an eye, and here's a little beak. And we're standing straight in that water. Okay, both of the hard parts are done now, and you can relax. So this is a bowl, and that means it's going to have two sides that are a pretty good match. And if you have to turn your paper to make this happen, it's worth it, because you want to eyeball that so it's a nice bowl that's shaped just right for these birds. And the bowl is going to be sitting on, you want to get this pedestal pretty much under it in the center, otherwise your water won't sit straight. I know that from my own garden. And there's our bird bath, and we'll add a little horizon line right there. Now it has to get more interesting down here. So I'm going to do my grass thing, which I do so much, and I love it because it's nice and cartoony looking, but not really, you know, it kind of looks real, or it gives a feeling of being real. And I'm going to bring a flower out this time with a pretty long stem here. And you can put any kind of round pebbles or petals, that you want, or I kind of draw poppy-shaped ones. And then 2 parentheses to make leaves there. And over here, I'm going to bring a couple of flowers out. Here's one. And wonky is good on flowers. Nature is pretty wonky. And then a little one here. And it's not really formed too much yet. And it's going to run into that one, and I don't want that. So I'm going to move this one a little, so that one can stay where it is. And I'm just going to take this up a little more straight so that they don't touch each other. There, and no little leaf on this guy. Okay, I don't know if I had that off camera there, but you get it now. And you can have any kind of flowers that you want to have on yours. I am going to ink and erase, and I'll be back. Okay, all set with that. I did a little cleaning up here and there. And the first thing that I am going to put in here is the water, and the water reflects the sky. And so we're going to use a sky blue, or verditer blue, as I've mentioned before. Nice cold water blue. And I'm going to pick that up just to make it a little lighter, because the sky is going to be lighter than that. All right, so I want to wash in the whole blue sky back here. I don't want to go over the birds, and I don't really want to go over the blossoms of the flowers. I don't care about the leaves, because our green will be an easy cover for any blue that's in the leaves. But I'm going to try and skip the flowers because they're going to be red, and I don't want them to look purple. Watercolor is transparent. As you know, this is a number 2 pointed round brush, and if I move quickly, I can make this happen. I'm going to lighten that a little bit. I don't want that much blue behind them. And I'm also going to lift a little bit, but not enough to make clouds. Just enough to make this sky kind of delicate. Turn the lights on, if you will, inside of it. Okay, moving as quickly as I can before anything can dry. See, even there I'm in a little trouble. It's already starting to dry, but it probably won't be for you, because you probably have that thing they call humidity. Oops, now see, there is that sky blue being overkill again. So I need a very white brush, a very wet brush. And I need to move this pretty quickly out and down. So what this is pigment particles floating in water. And so you are literally getting in there and moving them. And you can do that to a point. And after that point, if you do it anymore, you're going to be in trouble. And I see trouble happening up here. We'll see how it goes, because it could dry into a hard line, and that's not what we want. So if I see it happening, I'm going to be re-wetting. I don't like what's happening in this corner. So I'm going to get a wet brush and a not intense blue. I'm going to wet my brush again. I'm just a little paranoid that we might have too much going on here. Now, this is re-wet, and I believe it can join. See, because it's a good lifting paint, I can still move these guys. Over here now, see, it was dry, and I'm wetting. This is so good for you to see, really, because this is common. See that happening there? It's a washback from the new water. So you got to be right on top of everything here with the wetness factor. You can't let that happen right there where that was going in and making that line. See, right there we're good, though, because that leaf cuts us off. So now we're looking kind of smooth. And I'm just going to finish this down into here where it isn't cut off by anything. This area we can add a little color to all by its lonesome and not hit that other part at all. So it won't wash back there. There we have a sky wash that was a little work, but it's worth it. If you've got any tiny spaces that got skipped, don't worry about it. We'll go back and get it a little bit later. All right, now, okay, I want this to look like one of them in my yard, and so I'm going to use a yellow ochre here. This one is called a light yellow ochre. It's from my Snellier palette. So here's the bottom, and we're going to lift a highlight out of here to show its roundness. We're going to go, I kind of wet everything, you know, get it kind of moving, and then come back and lift a highlight out of there. And that kind of shows you that that base is round. It's not a flat thing. And where else can I go? I'm not going to go to that bowl because it's touching it. So I'm going to come up here and do my edges. I'll do the big one first. Careful to go around my birdie. And into that corner. Very little pressure on, when you're lifting you have a little more, but when you're applying paint in tiny areas with the number 2, you just, my kitty is hollering at me. Okay, the kitty gave me a chance to let that dry a little bit. We have 3 cats and 3 dogs here, and somebody always wants something. And that little sweetie is 18 years old, and sometimes she wants to know where she is. And so we tell her, and then she's good. Sometimes I want to know where I am, too. Okay, and I'm putting my lifted highlight right in line with what's, if the light's coming from there, it's coming from there. And so there we put it right in line with the base. And there's our bird bath done. And I'm still thinking about the bird color. I did yellow birds on that one, and I don't think that's exciting enough. And I think my birds are going to be dark blue this time, but I'm going to deal with green first. And again, I'm going to use my real favorite green gold. Just love that color. I don't know why it has me, but it does. I'm going to wash the entire ground area here. So I'm applying a wash. right over the grass things, and because we're going to use it dark for the grass and the leaves, or else we're even going to move to a sap. And so it's not going to be any problem that this green is underneath. And I'm going to leave it smooth. I'm not going to try and texture that because we're going to have enough going on with our darks here. I'm going to move to a phthalo blue for my birds because they will stand out better. And I didn't want a somber blue because these are bluebirds of happiness, I think. And so I wanted a bright blue. And I'm going to do the body first. You can see where I messed up my ink there, right? Doesn't matter. It will be dark and it will cover it. So I'm painting the body, and then I'm going to use the tip of my brush to pick it up so that there's some shape to this bird. We don't want just a flat dark blue. I don't think I have it far enough in the camera, but I'm just going back until I have a nice blue that's not too deep. And they're both going to be bluebirds because they are a little matched pair traveling around together, stopping in for drinks. So this body, this teardrop, now this looks delicate, and it is delicate, but it's going to give you the practice of being delicate. And it's one of the reasons that I use a smaller brush in smaller spaces. While it's true that a big number 6 or 8 or even 10 some people use, it will make a point. But a pointed round brush has a point. It also has this part right here, which is called the belly, and that holds the water. That's the water reservoir. So if you are doing a tiny space like this with the tip of a humongous brush, you have too much water in the belly. Not good, because it'll just wash out a space like this. And I'm already really badly going out of the lines here, but I'm going to do a sneaky little fix. Rather than try to pick that up, I'm going to make it dark. And nobody will ever know that ink line was there. And speaking of which, I'm going to come over to these wings and make that ink line disappear. So very light pressure here to make very small marks. In the fat part of the wing, I'm going to lift a little highlight out of. Not much, because I don't want paint running all around. That's good enough. That makes it look just like a bluebird. Not a mountain bluebird like ours, though, because he would have an orange chest. But a totally bluebird. All right, and there's that wing. And we didn't mess it up too much. All right, I like that. I like that better than the yellow birds on that. There's just more contrast. The rest of the color scheme I'm gonna stick with here. And again, we're working on a really bright one, so we have pretty much a complementary color scheme. And I'm going to be back to dab that beak a little bit orange, but not until I get the screen taken care of. So I'm going to choose my middle green, which is a sap. And it's going to give me some contrast with the light ground cover. And I'm going to start over here so I don't have my hand in my own wet paint. And paint the leaves. and lift a little bit to give them life. There we go. I'll finish these leaves over here while I'm at it. A little too much water there. Okay, now on to the grass using the sap also. That worked pretty well, showing up against that background. I want to make sure I don't have too much paint. I'm just going to put all the color strokes into these little scribble grasses. On both sides. And then I like to blur the bottom of that. It wouldn't look, you know, all hard edged like that. So I like to blur this so it looks like it is actually growing out of the ground. A little more natural looking. All right, now we are closing in. We're going to make red flowers. I'm going to pop an orangey beak on this bird on the right. And this is just going to be the touch of a tip of this. Just there. Yikes. I would do it here, but it's kind of, his mouth is kind of closed, so I would make more of a mess than I would add anything. And I will move here to a color called Perm Red, which is a Mission color. Also, Mission is also honey-based. And that is right here. And you'll notice when I go in for paint, I am kind of looking for a milk consistency, maybe low-fat milk. Not very thick, still real fluid. And this is something, honest to God, this is about time. You can't ever sit down with watercolor and say, okay, here's how I do it, and this is it. Because it's a formula that's about your learning and all about how much water to have or not to have on your brush. And you're learning about your environment and how fast things dry and how your brush works with your paper, all different, all individual. And so after the only path through this, of course, is practice. And doing it over and over again, you get the whole nuance thing happening. And it's not like you're never going to make a mistake, as you see me do, obviously. But it is that you're going to have a pretty good idea of what is going to happen when you make a move. Watercolor has a personality of its own, and it does what it wants. It's not a very obedient medium like, oil paint or something, which goes right where you put it and it stays there until you tell it to go someplace else. This is not true of watercolor because it's fluid, it's alive, and that's a lot of the fun. It's also a lot of the frustration of learning the medium, and why people think it's so hard is because it's dancing with you. It is not your obedient servant. And some of those lessons are hard when they're learned. You can't really go back in and fix the issues because watercolor just doesn't fix very easily. I mean, there's some things you can do, but it's not as if you're not in trouble when it really messes up. You have big jobs in front of you. I like that better. I don't know what you think, but I really like it better with the blue birds. You can make yellow birds on yours if you want to. And there we have another tiny masterpiece.